So now we're moving on to lesson 13A. In the next preview and assignment in the next class, you're going to need to be familiar with terminology related to statistical analysis. Let's start with data and observations. In many of the previous lessons, you have collected or used data and observations. Complete the following table to review the concepts studied in those previous lessons. So looking at our table, the lesson is listed and then just a quick summary of the data and analyzed. So the lesson is the in-class activity part, and if you go back and look, it's part A where we discussed personal information, and then we've used that data often throughout the semester. Go back and look for activity 2, part C, and if you haven't already hit pause, make sure you do and fill in a couple of words here as to what you think the data are that were analyzed. And then finally for in-class activity 3, part C, looking at that data too. So in the in-class activity 2C, something short you could write about what was analyzed would be that you could write household income. For activity 3C, that's when we looked at the average water consumption. It's not very short, but average water consumption of students. But it was the students in class or even online, you sent in your data. In a statistical study, data and observations are collected. Observations that can change from one member of the sample to the next are called variables. Observations that can change, and if you look at the first 4 letters of this word, they can vary, they can change. Now our variables can be, and this is where you need to have your flashcards going or your glossary, that the variables can be quantitative variables or categorical. Quantitative means we're going to have some kind of a quantity, like a weight or a grade. Categorical is going to be kind of like a bucket. Your choice goes in that bucket or it goes in this bucket. So let's talk a little bit more about these 2 types of variables. Remember, one is quantitative, a quantity, and the other is categorical, like a bucket, a bin, a box, some category on which or in which to answer. The value of a quantitative variable is a quantity or a numerical measure. The table below contains some types of data and observations that may be used as quantitative variables in a statistical study. Complete the following table with your information. This is the time to hit pause and to go ahead and complete your information. Notice anything or variable that it may be specific in asking, like height. It doesn't explain specifics, so you can put it in feet or inches, like 5 feet, 6.5 inches. Number of hours per week. This should sound familiar. Working on your math outside of class. The number of sleep hours. The distance you commute. The number of hours you spend on campus per week. Write these variables down, and especially if you've started some flashcards, you could put quantitative variables on the front, and then on the back side you can give it a definition, and then you can give it some of these examples. Moving on down to categorical. Categorical, the value of a categorical variable is, it's going to be a category, a group, or a verbal description. And sometimes this type of variable is called qualitative, whereas the other was quantitative. The following table contains examples of data and observation that may be used as categorical. Notice that both of these said may, because in statistics you do some pretty crazy stuff sometimes. And so it may be that these can be used as categorical variables in a statistical study. Complete the following information table with your information, and in some cases, just note, the categorical variables can be represented numerically. They may say put a 1 for male and a 2 for female, and it allows different types of statistics to be run. The top of this page is the table that was mentioned under categorical variables. Again, whatever way you're starting or have been doing your learning words, if it happens to be a flashcard, you would put categorical variable on one side and then a definition on the back, and then you can give some examples where you reported information like, excuse me, hair color. And then whenever you do this in a study, they may block it down to specific choices, or it could be that you describe what you would like to describe, and the same thing with eye color. What is your major? They may ask for the big part, like an AA or an AS, or they may just like to know if it's in the field of whatever, like field of medicine. What you ate for breakfast, there could be choices, like if there were drinks or breads or fruits, and then the city in which you were born. Moving on to question 4, if you recorded the information in the previous tables from all of your classmates, and this is a really good time to hit pause and answer 4 by yourself, but if you recorded the information in the previous tables from all of your classmates, do you think that the information would be the same from student to student? Jot down your thoughts on question number 4. Because a sample answer could be no, the information would be different for different students since the information depends on unique backgrounds, unique interests, and then the measurements can vary from student to student. With that in mind, go on to question 5 and keep going 6 through 9. So hit pause and then come back and we'll answer these together. So in question number 5, it asks us to fill in the blank and a variable. Remember, vary is a data piece or an observation made in a statistical study that is going to vary from person to person. On questions 6 through 9, again, if you have not already hit pause and worked on these by yourself, this is the time to do so, and then come back and we'll work on these together. It mentions that in each of the following questions, 2 types of variables are given. They're asking us to circle the quantitative and underline the categorical. Circle the quantity, circle the numerical, circle the one that's got numbers, and underline the one that my brain thinks of as buckets or bins. So age. Is age a number or is age a bin? We could make it buckets, like, hey, everybody age 20 to 25 goes in this bucket. But I think what they're wanting us to see is that age itself is a quantity. Whereas birthday month, like January, if you're in January, you go in this bucket. If it's February, you go in that bucket or bin. So birthday month is categorical, age is quantitative. Job title compared to income. Job title, like at our school, we have part-time and we have full-time. Those are buckets. We're either one or the other. So job title can be categorical, whereas income is a number, it's a value, and that can be quantitative. But notice or remember, they did use the words may. So we can take, like we did on age, we can take income and say anyone earning 10,000 to 20,000 goes in this bucket, and then group it in another bucket, but I don't think that's the spirit of what we're doing on this one. Favorite sport versus number of points scored in a game. The sport can be put into a bucket or bin. You're a football person, or you're rugby, or and then keep the list going. So if it's buckets or bins, it's categories. And then the number of points, well, that's numerical. And we'll leave it at that. Favorite food, I would need several buckets on this one. And so it might be a combination bucket, it might be Mexican, it might be Italian, American, whatever. But your favorite food pretty much can go into a category or a bucket. Whereas the result of your favorite food, calories, are going to be numbers and they're going to be quantitative. This concludes this worksheet 13A. look at your syllabus to see if you have more lessons to do this week before our deadline. And remember to upload everything to D2L, and we'll see you on another lesson very soon.